Now, with the offseason and NFL draft officially over, I want to give my opinion on the Bears' new additions to their team, the guys they lost, and how I think the Bears are going to do in replacing these players. Now, I'll start off with one of the two second-round picks from this year's draft, and that will be Jaquan Brisker, a safety out of Penn State. Now, for many Bears fans at the time, they didn't really like the idea of going secondary with not just one, but two second-round picks in that year's draft. And personally, for me, I was kind of mixed on the decision. But Brisker, I mean, what he's going to bring to this defense is on another level. He's an amazing tackler. He brings so much intensity to the secondary. His ability to tackle, his intensity when it comes to delivering big hits is just what the Bears need, because at the safety position, they have Eddie Jackson, who is a ball hawk. He's not a tackler. He's a guy who is going to go for interceptions. He's not really going to deliver big hits. So with Brisker being in there, he should provide something big for this defense when it comes to the intensity. He's also an amazing blitzer. He was one of the top blitzing secondary players in all of college football last season. So he's going to bring a lot to this Bears defense. So many people who criticize the pick, I can understand where they're coming from, but I think Brisker is going to work great in this Bears defense. Now, we also need to go over the other second-round pick, which was Washington cornerback Kyler Gordon. And what Gordon brings is going to be a lot of versatility. He's able to play both the slot cornerback position as well as the outside cornerback position, so he could definitely line up in Kendall Vildor's spot, which was originally the slot spot, or he can line up on the opposite side of Jalen Johnson. He's a very good ball hawk, plays the ball in the air very well, doesn't panic, has very good ball skills, and has great hands to catch as well. So he's been an outstanding corner at Washington. He played very well alongside Trent McDuffie, who was a first-round pick to Kansas City. But he's a full-bodied player. You know, he has great strength, great length to play against bigger receivers and tight ends. So I have a lot of hope with Kyler Gordon heading into his rookie season with the Bears. In free agency, the Bears addressed the linebacking core, signing Nicholas Morrow to a one-year prove-it deal, as Morrow is coming off of a very impressive 2020 season. However, he suffered a foot injury in 2021, which sidelined him for the entire season. So this being a prove-it deal, it could be a very good deal if the Bears do get Morrow to return to his 2020 form, and if he doesn't, you can simply cut ties with him next season. So this is a move that could work out very well for the Bears, as it will be a great replacement to Danny Trevathan if it does work out. The Bears also replaced two guys on the defensive tackle front as they released Eddie Goldman and allowed Akeem Hicks to walk in free agency. They originally planned to sign Cincinnati Bengals D tackle Larry Ogunjobi, however, the deal fell through. So the Bears went with a cheaper option, signing Chargers D tackle Justin Jones to a 2-year, $12 million deal, a deal which is much cheaper than the one that was intended for Ogunjobi. Jones will serve as a 3 technique in the Matt Eberflus defense, and he is coming off of a very impressive season where he was especially impressive against the run. The Bears also replaced edge rusher Khalil Mack with Al-Quadin Muhammad, who signed a 2-year, $10 million deal with the Bears as he reunites with former defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. Muhammad could definitely be one of the most underrated signings of the offseason, as he recorded 6 total sacks last season in a career year with Indianapolis, and considering the fact that he also came from the Matt Eberflus defense, he should fit in perfectly with the Bears. The Bears then addressed a need in the secondary, signing Baltimore Ravens slot corner Tavon Young to a 1-year prove-it deal. And Young could definitely be a very low-risk, high-reward candidate, as he has suffered multiple injuries as he missed the 2017 and 2019 season due to injuries, however had a very strong 2020 season, and anything would be an upgrade over Kendall Vildor at the slot position. So there is definitely some potential we could see Tavon Young play a big role in this secondary. Similar to the defensive side of the ball, on the offensive side, the Bears continued to give 1-year prove-it deals to a lot of guys to the likes of Byron Pringle and Dante Pettis. And Byron Pringle is a guy who does have a relation with Ryan Poles. The two of them were together in Kansas City. And last season in the Kansas City offense, he had 5 receiving touchdowns for 568 yards. A pretty solid season, but was not a huge contributor over his time in Kansas City and could definitely be a breakout candidate in Chicago as he signed a 1-year, $12 million deal to join the Bears. So he's a very interesting signing for this Bears offense. The Bears then signed wide receiver Equinemius St. Brown to a 1 year deal as he is reunited with former Green Bay Packers quarterback coach Lou Getsy, who is now currently the offensive coordinator in Chicago. So he should have a good understanding of how the offense will be run in Chicago. But St. Brown mostly served as a depth piece in Green Bay, and I think he'll probably do the same in Chicago. The Bears' other moves to address the passing game include signing wide receiver Dante Pettis to a 1 year deal, tight end James O'Shaughnessy to a 1 year deal, and tight end Ryan Griffin to a 1 year deal, all mostly serving as backups. The Bears also addressed their poor offensive line with the signings of Julian Davenport, Dakota Dozier, and Lucas Patrick. Starting off with Lucas Patrick, he is somebody who comes from Green Bay, so he will have a familiarity with the Green Bay system and the offense Luke Getsy is going to try to run. He's a mean center, mainly played center, but also can play the guard position. I think he's what the Bears are looking for. They're looking for offensive linemen who are going to be relentless on the line. I think that's just what the Bears need. They also signed Dakota Dozier, who comes from Minnesota, plays the offensive tackle position, and his Pro Football Focus grades have definitely not been favorable, despite the fact he was a starting offensive tackle. He has really not done a good job so far in his time in the NFL. So he's a guy I would not be shocked if we see him mainly play a depth role. And then the signing of Julian Davenport at the offensive tackle position was another big move, as he mainly played as a backup last season with the Colts in 9 games. He had 4 starts and allowed 4 sacks on the season, so he'll most likely be a swing tackle, but he's also played in a bigger role in many other places. The Bears also changed up their quarterback room as they released veteran quarterback Nick Foles and signed quarterback Trevor Siemian and Nathan Peterman. Siemian had a couple of appearances last season in New Orleans, but he will most likely play in a backup role in Chicago. And then Peterman, somebody who played with the Vegas Raiders last season, but did not get many starts so far in his career. So he'll most likely be a third string depth guy. Now, the Bears obviously weren't going to be a team interested in signing big name free agents. They did go with guys on smaller 1 year deals in order to get the most out of those players and see if they were worthy of another deal. So, right now, the Bears' current situation, they don't have an amazing team around second year quarterback Justin Fields, and that's a big issue. There's a lot of concern around whether or not Fields is going to be able to perform with the team around him, and that's a fear of every Bears fan. But right now, the future for the Bears does look pretty good as next season they have over $40 million available in cap space. So that's going to be a very good situation for the Bears come next season. This current offseason, I don't really know how to feel about it, and considering also the draft. They did address needs, but at the same time, they didn't really spend a lot of money, but they were very clear with what they wanted to do, and that was build a future around Justin Fields.